there wasn't the panic. There wasn't the panic, the racial panic that you had in the South Side when black people moved in. White people panicked and ran. Okay,
right. For good reason.
No, cut it out.
No, I would have run.
You would not have run.
Most middle class African Americans, hey, they ran. See, I remember when I was a kid when Roseland was all white. Roseland, the Gately People store, y'all remember? It was all white, and I saw it changed over. Then people of my generation, they left Roseland. They left Chicago. I'm the only fool here. Everybody's gone, and they ran. They ran away from poor black people. No one likes poor black people. That's all it is.
That's not true.
No, because the crime factor. You're afraid. In the 70s and the 60s, when I was a kid, you were afraid you're going to get beat down. Retribution, they had the riots in 68, all that kind of stuff. Then you have the other latest crime.
Were you even old enough for the riots?
I don't remember the riots.
Yeah, you were.
I remember when I was a kid, Dr. King was killed. I know he always had these programs. They said Dr. King was killed. I'm in kindergarten. Who the hell is Dr. King? You know what I'm saying?
You did not know Dr. King.
Well, I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I remember growing up, I started grammar school in 67, something like that, right? No, 67, yeah. So 68, I was in kindergarten. And so what happened? So growing up, we used to always sing "We Shall Overcome" and the Black National Anthem. You know, lift every voice and sing. So that was part of who I am.
Right.
But the generations, my children, other generations, that is gone. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's gone. The Black Power days are long gone. And thus you have this foolishness. We at 60 what? We at the Palance, whatever, 60 Summer Street, right? Go beyond 63rd Street, and it's the valley of the shadow of death, which is really sad. But why do you think that our leaders, and you know our leaders, haven't really said we're gonna end this crime and drama on the southwest side and the parts of the west side? You know, Lawndale, Austin, the south side, Roseland, Inglewood. How come the leaders don't say we're gonna stop this?
It's beyond them, isn't it? They
No,
can't control it.
Yes, they can.
How can they control it? How can our leaders control?
Social engineering. You can't do it. Social engineering. You have to have a mass movement to birth control. I'm serious. Serious birth control. You heard a theory about less crime because of abortion?
Yes, I've heard that theory.
That was from Freakonomics.
Yeah, right here in the University of Chicago.
Yeah, I had the guy, Stephen Levitt. I drove him before. No, I drove him before. He don't talk to me no more. Mr. Levitt called me, but I drove Levitt twice. We spoke. But he's a professor.
Did you talk to him about his theory?
No, I wasn't that kind of party. When you drive people, they don't talk, you don't talk. He's professorial.
Okay, right.
And so it was cool.
Yeah.
But but when I had him in the car, I did not know he wrote the book. That's a long story.
Okay. How'd you figure it out?
No, but later on, Stephen Levitt. But I gave him a copy of my book, Willie Lynch.
Yeah.
I should bought you a copy of my book.
You sent me one.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave him a copy of my book. I ain't heard from him since. But so what I'm saying, I think that it's really, you have children. Are you a grandfather?
Not yet.
See, your girl, your older girl, how old? She's 20?
Wait a minute, let me figure this out. 21.
She doesn't have any children.
No.
A lot of young people, they want to have babies, and you shouldn't have babies.
No.
When we came from the South, most African American families from the South. We were in the South back in the day. A lot of children was a plus.
Yeah. How old were you when your first child was born?
31.
You and I are about the same age.
Right, same age. Yeah. And that's why I tell the kids, wait till you get now Jesse Jackson can't tell people that, of course, but Jesse Jr. can. And so with all due respect.
How old was Jesse Jr. when he had his first child?
Probably the same age because
how old is Jesse Jr. now? He's 10 years younger than me. So he's 44. He's 43.
He's a few years younger than me. Yeah. So no, but Barack Obama had his children. He was well into their 30s when they were like 37, I think, when Barack.
Let's do them. How old is Barack
I don't know.
Obama?
He's 48.
Yeah, he's 48.
He'll be 48 in August.
Yeah, you're right.
He'll be 48. He was 48 in August. I think his daughter will be 14 this year.
Yeah.
You do the math.
Yeah.
I think so. He was in his late 30s when they first had the first baby.
There should be no rush.
There should be no rush, and that's the first issue. The second issue is that it's about family. I was blessed with two wonderful middle-class parents. I did not appreciate them at the time, but it's really about family.
Now you do.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I appreciate it now, and that's why. The only reason why I'm still married because I saw my parents married for 30 years, and otherwise I'd have bailed out a long time ago. And so family and everybody shouldn't get married for some strange reason. Marriage is not for everybody, but you're going to co-parent these children. So we have to talk about raising children.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing. I always tell people like WVON and many of the African American leaders, and we don't talk about raising children.
Yeah.
How do you get a child from 63rd Street to go to this fine university, the University of Chicago? How do you do that?
Oh, if you're a parent?
Yes, I'm saying.
You have to emphasize reading. You have to emphasize creative thinking. You don't just tell a kid to shut up. You engage a kid. You don't tell if your daughters challenge you on an issue, just ask you a question about the world today. Do you just say shut up?
No, because I was raised where we were seen and not heard.
So
we got whippings. I mean, like iron cord and blood was drawn. We got good whippings when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Of course, now I pay good money for that kind of action.
Yeah.
Things have changed. I have evolved. But the point is that, so I never like when I used to spank the kids when they were little, but as they grew up, you know, they were like 5 or 10.
If your child asks you a legitimate question about what's going on in the world, do you tell her to shut up?
Never.
Okay.
Never shut up.
Would your parents, I do not believe if you ask a legitimate question about what was going on in the world, your parents would say shut up.
No.
If you ask a legitimate question as a young man about the political situation, how come daddy, blah, 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 and he's doing this, so you're understanding that there's inconsistency and hypocrisy, your father would not say shut up.
No.
And that's good parent, in my humble opinion, good parenting.
Excellent parenting, but we would, the parenting thing is really about, we still whip our children, corporal punishment more than any other group. And that's a direct descendant from slavery. My parents, we
talking about black people?
Yes, African Americans, we still whip their children.
Do you whip your children?
Never have whipped my children because I thought it was senseless. And I'm sort of pseudo bourgeois, so I think I proved some of the Dr. Spock books or something when I was a kid. But the point is that, but some of us we still do corporal punishments because most of us are not really articulate. They can't really express our feelings verbally, so we have to go to the fisticuffs. We got to go whip our children, and violence is not good. I mean, you spank them when they're little, when they get to be 5 and 10 years old, you don't spank a 5 or 10-year-old. Or I was a kid, we used to get whipped because I had bad grades in school, and I became, radicalized. And like I tell my children now, if a child gets bad grades in school, it's not the child's fault. It's mom and dad. Mom and dad.
Really?
Yep.
You believe that?
Yes. My children get a C, a D in school. A C, a D.
How's that your fault?
Because I'm supposed to make sure their grades are up. If they're falling down, I'm supposed to make sure they get a tutor. I'm supposed to talk to the teachers and make sure. And I always tell when I say my children, teachers I say, listen here, we don't slip A, C's, and D's in our house. If they start slipping, you call me immediately because we gonna stop this.
What kind of grades do your kids get?
Straight A's. Sometimes they get a B. Every blue moon, my son gets a C. And they not. But see, we in public schools. It's not. Your public schools, you're already behind the New Trier school districts and the Hindale school districts, so it ain't that hard. But the trick is that you have.
There's some hard schools in Chicago.
Yeah, but you got to be like Michelle Robinson and go over here to Whitney Young.
Right.
But the average public school is way behind the average. Come on.
Okay.
But the whole thing about African Americans, the thing about us is that we want this hood thing. We want to be authentically black. I said, what does that mean? That's hood. That's ghetto. That's hip hop. That's fly. That's fresh. That's jiggy. Instead of getting A's and B's, you know what I'm saying? Barack Obama's a geek. He's a square guy. Then the kind of guys we supposed to raise. He was raised by a white woman. See,
and a man. Give the guy credit.
That's right.
It was
and
his
a man.
grandparents.
I think we should be able to raise a Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying?
Well, a lot of black people were raised.
You know what I'm saying? But we're not enough, not to the degree we have. That's why I always tell people. I'm sorry, hogging the conversation. I always tell people read the Jewish phenomenon. I always tell African Americans. I was told to read the Jewish phenomenon. Why the Jews are so successful. And
education.
Yes.
Education.
Yes. I tell my son. I was talking about Ben Stein.
Ben
Stein. Ferris Bueller. Win Ben Stein's money. Ferris Bueller. We had a great piece on CBS not too long ago, and he was talking about. So what? You don't get at the University of Chicago, you can still be phenomenal.
Yeah, there's other schools.
Yeah, you still be phenomenal, but it has to be preached where. Our best and brightest, our bourgeois moved away from us. When I was a kid, we had the sense of uplifting the race. That's over now.
Well, you still have some middle class areas.
Yeah, we don't have the sense of uplifting the race anymore because when I was a kid, you had to live on the South Side.
Okay.
The dividing line for my neighborhood was Ashland. When I was a kid, Ashland.
What about that neighborhood on the South Shore? It's just
South Shore.
It's just south of
71st Street.
God, right where Jesse Jackson Jr. lives. And
that
whole area.
That's nice. Real nice.
Real nice. We're professionals.
Yeah, but you got a few, but you got the folks shooting up left and right on Exchange and Coles and Colfax and all that. You got it's hood right out down the street. And what it is that you can't. We'll talk about off the air. We have to. I can curse. I can't curse on TV. We have to impose our middle class values on the clothes. They will always be poor. The poor will always be among us, but we have to be poor class. I make under 50,000, but I don't act like a criminal because I had good parents, send me to Sunday school and that kind of stuff. And we got to get back to them old-fashioned middle class values.